Hi guys! In another place, at a castle during sunrise, a servant of the sea vampire greeted him. There, the servant immediately served a cup of red tea before the vampire went to sleep. He prepared the tea while laughing together with the vampire. The two of them were very close. They couldn't stop laughing ridiculously, even though nothing was actually funny. They were having such a good time that the servant's head popped off his body, crashing into the tea table and knocking it over. The red tea spilled all over the floor. When the servant stepped in it, he slipped and tripped over a red curtain, which caused sunlight to enter the room. The vampire was exposed to the sunlight, overheated, and turned to ash. Seeing his master get hurt, the servant immediately apologized. Because of his carelessness, the vampire had turned to ashes. He begged and cried not to be fired, but the vampire no longer cared. And in the end, the servant was kicked out of the castle. He walked away, and by coincidence, the wind was strong at that time, causing his ashy remains to scatter in all directions. In another scene, SpongeBob was throwing out the trash. But he suddenly realized that he had dumped it onto the head of the former vampire servant, who just happened to be in the area. SpongeBob was shocked and terrified, but to his surprise, he recognized him. He was one of his old friends named Sleppy. Sleppy was extremely sad after being fired from his job. Without his vampire master, his life felt empty and lost. He began to cry, expressing his desire to serve a new master. He just wanted to have something to do every day. Not long after, Mr. Krabs showed up and yelled at SpongeBob for taking too long out back, since customers were piling up waiting for Krabby Patties. SpongeBob explained that the restaurant was too busy today and that they needed extra help. Sleppy immediately approached Mr. Krabs and asked for a job, but Mr. Krabs refused, saying he didn't have money to pay him. Then Sleppy cleaned Mr. Krabs's dirty feet and said he used to be paid in insects. Hearing that, Mr. Krabs immediately hired him. Sleppy then started working as a greeter at the Krusty Krab. His service was so good that a customer even gave him a tip, but Mr. Krabs immediately took the money, reminding Sleppy of the deal. He would only be paid in insects. Mr. Krabs gave him a bug to keep him motivated to work harder. Soon after, a new customer entered. Sleppy took off his skin, leaving only his skeleton because he thought he was wearing a coat. Squidward, seeing this, thought Sleppy was the weirdest and scariest employee Mr. Krabs had ever hired. SpongeBob appeared and told Squidward that the order was ready. Sleppy came up from under the floor and served the food with great flair. However, the customer ended up eating his own foot by mistake and ran out of the restaurant in pain. Squidward laughed, thinking Sleppy was just pulling a prank. SpongeBob then came over to Sleppy and advised him not to serve things the customers didn't order, especially not their own body parts, so they wouldn't run away again. After that guidance, Sleppy finally understood. Sleppy went back to greeting customers. A rich lady entered, and Sleppy gave her a truly luxurious welcome. She praised his elegance and said she had never been treated so extravagantly before. Sleppy mentioned that the outfit he was wearing was actually his burial suit. This shocked the lady. Sleppy then gave her rather barbaric service. He transformed into a bat, grabbed her hair, and carried her to the VIP area. But once they got there, the rich lady was terrified. Sleppy insisted on helping her eat, even taking off his own head to chew the food for her. She panicked and jumped off the balcony, landing on Mrs. Puff and sending Sleppy's body parts flying everywhere. Seeing this, the other customers freaked out and fled. Mr. Krabs showed up after noticing the restaurant was empty. SpongeBob tried to defend Sleppy, but Mr. Krabs had had enough and fired him. Sleppy, devastated, gave Mr. Krabs dozens of insects as an apology for scaring off the customers. Sleppy then promised that he could bring all his friends to the restaurant, but they would only come at night. Mr. Krabs, hearing this, saw dollar signs and decided not to fire Sleppy, as long as his friends came to eat. Sleppy transformed the restaurant into a favorite hangout for his friends. Night fell and a creepy atmosphere took over. The restaurant was filled with all kinds of monsters and creepy creatures. SpongeBob and Sleppy arrived. Sleppy cooked for all his friends. He already knew what they liked. He even made a living patty that was devoured by a strange creature, proving how excellent his service was. SpongeBob was asked to put bones into a Krabby Patty to serve to a werewolf. Next, he served invisible food to an invisible fish. Mr. Krabs showed up, initially wanting to scold them for filling the place with monsters. But when he saw all the money at the register, he held back. Meanwhile, Squidward was stuck in a spider web. Mr. Krabs announced that the restaurant would always be open for Sleppy's group. Then, suddenly, the lights went out, a sign that Sleppy's old master had arrived. Sleppy begged his master to take him back, saying he missed working for him and wanted to care for him again like before. Touched by his words, the vampire master accepted Sleppy back, even though he would have to work at the bottom rank of the castle. The monsters were deeply moved. Sleppy was taken away by his master. Mr. Krabs tried to stop him. After all, he was a moneymaker. But it was too late. Shortly after, a bus full of angry and hungry villagers arrived. When they entered the restaurant and saw all the monsters, a huge fight broke out. But Mr. Krabs didn't care, because the cash register was full. However, when the register exploded, it turned out it wasn't filled with money, but with insects. Because of course, monsters use insects as currency. And that's how the movie ends.